Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to another podcast episode from the Fashion Clinic, part of the London College of Fashion Hub for Entrepreneurs. Today we have Thomas Erikson. We're so excited to welcome you, Thomas, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. Thomas is the writer of Surrounded by Idiots and a number of other books. We focus on his work a lot as part of our master's degree, and a lot of the courses in University of Arts London look at his work. So we're very excited for this conversation. To start, Thomas, we'd love to ask you, with everything going on, how are you? How are you coping?
To begin with, thank you so much for having me on. Well, how am I coping? I have to say, for me, it has been quite a roller coaster. My usual weeks are constant lecturing, traveling, giving public talks to thousands of people every day. But since last March, somebody just pulled the plug and boom, my calendar just were wiped out totally. So for me, working from home since then basically, and doing some webinars and these kind of situations has been more occurring, of course. But the change was brutal for me.
Yeah.
I was constantly on the road, and now I am never on the road. So, but I figured out a way to sort of fill my days with hopefully fruitful work. But no, I am longing back to a bit what it was like.
Yeah.
I have to admit that. We'll get there, I guess, in a way or so. Who knows?
Yes. We'll have to get there at some stage. I think for anyone that was traveling for work, I mean, it's an absolutely huge change. I'll say I find it myself also a roller coaster. Some days I think it's fantastic to have this downtime and to focus on my work, and other times I'm ready to spread my wings again. But hopefully this time when it happens again, we'll really enjoy it. So we'd love to dive into conversation and talk about Surrounded by Idiots, which is probably your most famous book. Would you agree? Would you be able to tell us a bit about how it developed and the color theory?
The color theory, well, to begin with, the color theory is not my theory. That I have to be crystal clear about. I am a behaviorist. I'm not a psychologist, but a behaviorist, which means that I work with different kinds of tools that is about how to measure a person's behaviors to be. It's always more complicated than that, but let's stick with that. It's the colors are based on the disc profile, which is spread all over the globe since, I don't know, late 60s, early 70s, something like that. And I had used that tool in my work, in my field as a management consultant for 20 years, something like that. And a lot of people told me, this is interesting, this is really good actually, but how can we learn more about this tool in itself? And I didn't know about any books on the topic then. So I said to myself, well, maybe I should write a book myself about this. I was a thriller writer before, also a bit to the side business actually. Yes. And so I said to myself, maybe I could put the book together. So which I did, and I took the idea. I came up with a name, Surrounded by Idiots, myself. I designed the cover, and the English cover is actually pretty much my original design. And I took it to my then publisher and said, now this is the newest project. How about these behaviors and personalities, and what do you think? And they said, that's an ugly book. Ooh, that's a really ugly book. It's a really ugly cover. And it's a stupid title. And they actually said I was the idiot, basically. So drop the whole idea, but I was never really good at taking advice, I have to say. So I finished it myself anyways, and I had to publish it myself because nobody wanted it. They said it was just dumb, just leave it. But so the first year nothing happened. I was driving around in my car with books in the trunk, actually, sort of forcing them upon my clients. Please take this. You can take 2 books. Take 1 book. oh, what is this? A book about idiots? No, but okay, one book. That is actually how it started. Then we got into the
Wow.
bookstores, and the rest is, as you say, history. Now it's all over the world in 43 languages, I think it is.
Wow. And I see it's published in 100 countries. So maybe it worked out well that you self-published in the end.
Well, maybe it was okay then. Now it's out there. So, and I'm happy because the topic seems to interest people. People are interested in the subject of behaviors and interaction and communication. And well, as you know, it's hard to get along all the time, actually.
Definitely, especially now that we're all in our houses all the time. It's all or nothing with people.
Exactly. So who are you anyway? But it's fascinating and according to my experience, as we talked about just before we started, doing this kind of conversation, many times a week, now it's even more important to understand how to to interact and communicate, but how to connect with people. That's not the same thing.
Very true.
It's getting harder because everything is kind of filtered through digital gadgets and so on. That's just the way it is. So
it's true. And so maybe you could explain to our listeners, if they're not familiar with your work, what the different colors are, and maybe you could share with us what color type you are.
Well, there's 4 colors. You have red, yellow, blue, and green. The red ones are the dominant types, fast forward, fast decision makers, bam, quick, speed up, we're in a hurry. Well, we're not in a hurry, but you could speed things up a bit because they get bored really easily. They like to take decisions, they like to be in control of things, and they can be, some people perceive them a bit aggressive maybe because they are not much into sugarcoating things. If they need something, they just tell you, hand it over because I need this, so that's them. And then you have the yellow people who are positive and creative, and very active and smiling all the time. And the sun is shining, isn't it? And if you say, well, it's actually kind of cloudy. Yeah, but the sun is always shining somewhere, because life is fantastic. How about this and that? And where is my papers? Because their memory is shorter maybe than the average Joe's memory, I would say, because they are always onto new ideas and new things and how about this and they are trying, exploring, investigating, but they're writing things down. But they're happy. You have to love them. Then you have the green people. There we go more to the introvert side. The first 2 ones, they are extroverts.
Okay.
The greens and the blues, they are introverts. So the green ones are more calm and very friendly, caring, sharing, very, very, let's say, good listeners. They actually hear what you say and they will remember what you said, especially if it was something bad. Especially if it was something bad about the green person, then it's going to be filed on shelf 1A for eternity.
Forever.
Never forget these things. No, you were mean to me in 2001. I can recall this, yes. So that's a bit more of a problem for them, I would say. Very friendly, good team players, really good at working in teams. They're sort of, the default is cooperation, looking for cooperation all the time. And then you have the blue ones. The analytics, analytical guys, the engineers, tax sheriffs, people who like to look into facts and details. Details are important, yes, details. Maybe we should dig a bit deeper, maybe even down to the groundwater to see if there are some details. Did I mention details? That's really important, We have to look at the detail because there is where the devil is, right? Details is everything. And they're really good at these things. Quality matters, right? And some people might consider them a bit, let's say, slowish, because they have to consider this and that, and going back and forth. So those are the 4 basics. Then you can, of course, combine these in a number of ways. So that there is not only, some people say, well, are there only 4 kind of people on the planet? No, it isn't. There's probably 19,000. But you can combine these colors, of course. But these are, let's call it the fundamentals. Like in the recipe, you have the eggs, you have the milk, you have the whatever you're having.
Okay.
I don't bake very much, but if depending on how many eggs you use and how much sugar and so on, you get a different kind of cake. It's the same thing here. My colors, as you ask me, well, we have only known each other for, 14 minutes. No, I'm not going to have you to guess, but I have a lot of red, a lot of blue, but then I have some yellow and no green. My apologies. I don't know what happened.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
And are some of those colors opposite? Is it kind of two very different styles?
Yes.
Like your red wants to speed up and your blue wants to slow down.
Good example, because the red ones are the accelerator. The red bar is the accelerator. The blue is the brakes, so to speak. So, and if you push all the pedals at the same time when you drive, that's a strange drive. I can sense that within me. Sometimes I need to, speed up and just go along with somebody's ideas, and then I pick up my pencil and say, well, maybe I should write things down and do some research. So I can feel myself drawn between those, let's say, separate directions.
Yeah. How interesting. And do you often think about your color personality in terms of how you're dealing with situations?
Well, maybe I don't. Well, usually people say, psychologists claim that 95% of our thoughts are about ourselves. If that is actually true, I've tried to you believe that? Well, I don't know. I've tried to track my own thoughts, but it's difficult. Let's just say it's difficult, but maybe I don't consider myself these days extremely much, because I have been working with this method for probably a little bit more than 20 years at least. But yes, I do read everybody I meet. That is just the way it is. I can't help myself.
Wow.
It's easy looking at the facial expressions, and body language, the choice of words. If you use your hands like I do, that's the yellow part of me, actually. Okay. When I do this sort of French body language, as we say. That's a Swedish saying, maybe that's not an English saying. The French do this a lot. I don't know if that's true.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe they do. But it's like if do you speak a second language?
I speak some French, but I'm a bit out of practice.
Okay. Okay, me too, a lot. But the thing is, let's say you can do some speak some French. You can order a dinner, and you can have some really maybe some kind of basic daily conversation. Then you hear a couple of guys sitting at the table to the side there, and you overhear them, and you hear they speak French. Can you then not understand what they are talking about? So this is what it is. If you practice, let's say the color language, if you practice it like you can sort of work your French skills up, and be more skilled in that area, which you can if you practice it. That is actually one of my plans, to learn more French. But if you don't use it, you forget about it. So I have learned the color language by using it on a daily basis. So these days it's really easy for me. But I have done my 10,000 hours of practice, I would say. So, but anyone can do that. That's more about your personal interest and how much you would like to, let's say, don't have too many unnecessary conflicts in your life. That could be one reason.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants conflict. That's fantastic. That's fascinating. So it's almost like
some people actually do want conflicts. That's the red one. Unnecessary conflicts. That's another one. Sorry.
So if you're good at guessing, how about you guess my color, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Oh, that's hard. Well, I would say that you have, now I have to look at your face. Sorry for not looking in the camera. Your laughter comes easy, but you know what you're doing. You are very, very well prepared. You are, well, I would say you have some blue in you.
Interesting.
I would say, interesting. You don't agree. That's the yellow gesture there. Well, of course, you have some yellow in you. How much? I don't know. The preparation part could also be red-ish. Could be. It depends on why you prepare. If it's about keeping track of time or find an exact question, but you send an email with lots of details in it. I think you have some blue in you, maybe. Probably mostly yellow, and then some task-oriented things.
Okay.
I would go for some blue at least, but I'm not sure.
Interesting. That's great.
So what do you think?
So I think so. When I first read the book, I thought definite yellow. Like I really identified with the comment that said, "Yellow sees a stranger as friends you haven't met yet." I definitely identified with that. And then when I got a bit more consensus from my friends, I think I probably have a bit of a red streak. And maybe the preparation is a bit of a red, like a bit of a competitive, I want to get this right, as well as a blue, like I want to make sure that everything is correct and that we have the best details in the best order. But that's very interesting. Maybe I'll have to analyze further.
Well, I don't know. When you combine the two or maybe even three colors, it gets more complex. But would you say that your preparation is about being in control?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely.
Well, then it's a red streak, let's say.
Okay. Yeah.
The Reds like to be in control over the situation, over people. Maybe not you, of course not you, but other red people. Blue people needs to be in control of the details and the structure and the Excel sheets and so on. So it depends.
Yeah. How interesting.
Yellow, we can agree on yellow at least. That's good.
How interesting. I'll definitely be observing myself further. Another question I have for you, maybe a selfish one, is so this interview is part of our panel, the Fashion Clinic, which we're a group from our master's class that are creating the Fashion Clinic. And so we did an analysis on the group, and it seemed like all of us were dominantly yellow. So there's loads of ideas, and we need to work on, I guess, our details. So and I was really interested in the book. I know there's a section about where you had groups in different rooms, and a group of yellows were last to finish and were entertaining, but didn't actually answer the question. And we've got a big assessment coming up. Do you think that when you have a group with similar colors, you have to work a little bit to bring out those other attributes, those other skills that the other colors have?
Well, yes and no. Start with the last phrase there. This is not about skills, actually. It's not about competence or what you know or what you're interested in. And I know you didn't say that, but for those who are listening, it could be. I have to point it out. The only thing we measure using the four colors is behaviors. That's all. The reason behind it and what you know and what you don't know, we can't see it. We can see, let's say, symptoms of things. I mean, yellow people are interested in other people, let's say. But we can't see anything about competences or if you would like to work with fashion or cars or you know, whatever. But when you put a team together, the best thing, I mean, the school book answer would be you have to make sure you have all the colors within the team. But then again, you could be two colors. You could be yellow and red, for example, and I could be blue. So together we have three colors. Three colors, like that, that's six colors. But the thing is, the good thing with having people of different colors in the room, let's say during a discussion when you're putting up something, you're starting a new project or whatever it is that you're doing, you get the best dynamic if you have all the points of views in the same room at the same time. So that is actually good, because what usually happens in a team is the yellow person comes up with this idea and say, hey, I have this brilliant idea, amazing. I have been thinking about this for weeks, and then it comes out very unprepared. I usually call it unprocessed material. They open the lid in the front, and they just start talking. It sounds great. Everything sounds wow. But you don't know where it's going to end, and nobody, neither does he or she, nobody knows. But it's fascinating and very inspiring all at the same time. Then the red person says in the room, if we have one, say, okay, good, go, decision made, let's start it. The green one has to do all the work, and the blue one checks the bullet points and see, did we actually deliver what we said we should deliver? Did we follow the plan, you know? Of course, this is a simplification. I understand that you get that too, but again, we find different roles in a team. And if you think it like that, you can easily see why you might be very efficient if you actually use all the colors at the same time. The only problem with this theory is the team leader. She has to be really good at this, because she has to deal with all the colors at the same time, dealing with the, you know, the impatient red ones saying, hey, taking too long, too many words, you know, speed up, you know, what are we doing here, you know, get me out of here. And the yellow ones who are hard to get down to the ground, and some of them haven't touched ground since, you know, 2018, and the green ones who don't dare to say what they think because they have another idea that might be even better, but still they don't like conflicts, and the team leader has to drag it out of them. So what do you think, Hannah? What do you think? Yeah, no, I agree, because green people, they agree. Even if they don't, they will say they agree. And the blue ones who take notes, you know, and asks you know, a zillion questions. So the team leader needs to be prepared for all of these different kinds of, let's say, behaviors. And that could be really tricky, could be.
Yeah, I think teamwork is famously challenging in ways, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things that we study is de Bono's 6 hats, and kind of having someone in the room who practices thinking and practices supporting or finding a hole in an idea. But maybe there's a bit of an application like that here. Even in a group of yellows, we have to find a way to make sure someone makes sure that it's actually happening, and someone is actually getting the work done. So that's our challenge. A lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. Everyone who's in our course has a small business that they're working on and that they've been developing or would like to launch. And many of these people have, you know, a team of 5 or less, and some of them are making their first or second hires. And of course, these are really crucial, especially at the start of the business. We're all being very careful in terms of finances and our lean approach. Would you say that it's worth considering this type of behavior profiling when you're making your first and second hire, to try and hire someone who's got an opposite behavior to you or has a different dynamic or approach in their opinions?
I understand. Well, the short answer is yes. But I can do something more about that. But say something more. The thing is, let's say you started your own business. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I started several businesses, and of course you're always looking for people with the same interest that you have, with the same, let's say, preferences. They're into, well, let's say fashion. Why not? And or whatever it is. But again, you need, let's say, a character that you actually can work with. Let's say you have this basically the same interest. Let's just tick that one off. And then you need somebody who have some kind of skill, some kind of competence related to the business, let's say. And then maybe you don't get along because he's in this corner, you are in that corner, you know, you are really different. You can see, oh, wow, we don't agree on anything when it comes to what pace we're going to work in, you know, how much details, what background work do we have to do, how do we reach out to our contractors, or whatever the network looks like. But the thing is if you have somebody with, if let's say that you have 2 people, you are recruiting, you have 2 people with the same resume, then look for the personality traits, then look for how they are acting. If you only have one with the right competence, the right resume, let's say, you have somebody that is okay, but have a personality that more fits you, that I would go with the personality let's say the positive sides there, because you can't change the personality, but you can train people. You can give and hand out competence. You can use your own skills to train the other guy or girl in whatever it is, but you can't change their personality, and the personality comes out in their behaviors, which can again be measured with the 4 colors. So, and this is it's never black or white, pun unintended. It's more it's more about, I mean, you can't change another person. It's impossible to change. I mean, just look at yourself, how hard it is to change yourself when it comes to your habits and things that you think that, yeah, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that, but still I am going to do it anyway. But and it's hard to change you. So how could you ever think that you could change somebody else? It's not going to happen. So then you need somebody who has at least a personality that might match you, maybe not perfectly, but at least in some okay way.
Yeah.
If you get my point there.
Yeah.
But this is complicated, because maybe you can only have you only have 2 people to choose between. You have this and you have that, and how should you do it? You have to consider it though. Say, it doesn't matter, he's rude or she's lazy. No. You have to. They have the right competence. They have the right resume. They have the right. The references are excellent. Well, are they? Or you see their portfolio, whatever it is. You have to consider these things also, especially when you are building bigger team and a bigger one and adding more and more people. Maybe let's say you add 2 people every year. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you recruit constantly because the business is going well. After somewhere beyond 10 people, if the team isn't sort of functioning in a good way, you're going to get yourself in trouble. That is definitely the case. You have to have a plan on this. What I usually do is, when I help entrepreneurs, we make the assessment analysis, so we get it on paper, and then we make a sort of what we call a profile wheel. We put them in the same box and say, okay, how is it matching? Is it like this, or is it like, nobody's understanding anything? It's really fruitful to have these discussions before you actually do the real hire, before you actually say welcome on board. Because afterwards it might be too late. You can lose a year or 2 by recruiting the wrong people. And all entrepreneurs has been around for some time. They know this. It's tricky.
Sure, yeah. It's a huge part of even the financial planning for starting a business. And how do you make that wheel where you compare the personalities and look at the crossovers?
Well, the book is about is describing the profile itself, and the tool itself. That's not something that you carry around, because that's a digital assessment analysis based on behaviors, and you answer a lot of questions. And then you get a result. You get a report in your hand that says this and that about this individual, and then you can take, if you have 10 of them, you can, let's say, to rationalize it, you can in the software, you can just put them in the same box. Then you sort of add them on top of each other. Then you see how much red do we have here, and how much yellow do we have, and how much yellow, green. You said in the team that you referred to 10 minutes ago, you said you are mostly yellow, all of you, which is fantastic. I am sure you are really getting along. You have a wonderful time and you enjoy yourself, and you are inspiring each other and all of these things. I am pretty sure. But you also know there are some times and you are sitting by yourself thinking, right? How will we manage the situation? Am I incorrect completely, or?
Oh, you're pretty close. We actually have a presentation on Tuesday, and I'm thinking exactly that. We better get started.
We better get started Tuesday. Oh, that's okay. Tuesday coming up. Okay. Well, but you have so much fun all the time. So who cares?
You don't even need a presentation.
Life is short. No, you can just do it on the fly and not do anything. I have seen salespeople standing up in front of clients to be, with an offer in their hands for millions of pounds, and just start talking, because they didn't prepare. Because just start to, and everybody said, "Whoa, fantastic, great!" And they don't even know what they were selling. They came home with a big order, not sure what they sold. That is a bit of a problem. But everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
They were enjoying themselves. So who knows?
Who knows? Who knows what the best combination is? I guess there's no way of knowing. One of the things we all liked in your book, and we talk about, is the suggestions, because of course a big part of talking about behaviors isn't just the positive aspects, but it's the challenges that come up and how we deal with them. And one of the things that we were interested in was, say, for example, like if a red is pushing on time, then it can be helpful to explain, well, it would help if we take an extra couple of days for this, because this helps us avoid pitfalls and make sure we're getting it right. Do you have any tips or tricks for how we take the colors into account when we're dealing with people, or when we're dealing with challenges?
Challenges is that another word for problems, or maybe even conflicts?
Yeah.
Well, let's
something
call it
annoying you.
No, let's be straightforward. Sometimes you don't get along. Sometimes let's say in this fictional team over here, where everybody is to the yellow side, let's say. Could be sales team, marketing teams, or PR bureaus. They are never anything else but yellow. So, and there they might, they can identify the problems. Namely, you didn't deliver, or neither did you, and nobody remember what it was. Who takes protocol here? Who's writing things down? I don't know. I'm so inspired, but then they sort of get themselves in trouble, because it's one thing to have these brilliant ideas, and one thing to actually put them together and make the delivery, let's say. And what usually happens is people start to blame each other, pointing fingers and say, "I think that was on you." Yeah, but I think it's on you. That's impossible, because I clearly remember you said you're going to fix this and that, and there you are. The best thing you can do is to prepare for this before the conflict occurs, before you get sort of in the way for each other. Consider it like a marriage. I don't know if you're married, you're very young, but let's say that you are planning on getting married somewhere over there, and prepare with the person you're getting married to. Discuss how would you like this relationship to be. What's good, what's bad, what are you good at, what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, what could you expect from each other? How are we going to cooperate when it comes to building a family, or buying a house, or just planning the bloody vacation, just are we going to the seas, or are we going to, no, I'm going to the countryside because I like to see cows. And now you're telling me no, you need to do all of this beforehand. If you work, let's say you in your team, you start a whole new project, let's say, then you sort of put out the roles. So you do this and I'll do that, and then we do the reporting. How should the reporting go? And if somebody stumbles in the middle of these things, is it okay for the other ones to say, "Hey, you have to work the whole night now, because you're behind. We can't wait for you. You have to put some
stick
extra
to the plan."
You have to stick to the plan, and you better and so because if you set up the rules, and even the rules for, well, let's say avoid failure rules. Let's say, what happens if we don't do as we have promised? What happens if I actually tell you a bit of a white lie? My phone battery was out. I didn't wake up in time. I'm so sorry. That was not my idea of I don't know about Netflix. Somebody put it up there, and now I watch 9 episodes of something, and that it was actually not my fault. Everybody knows when the other person is making excuses and even lying. Everybody hears it. But sometimes, just in order to, let's say, still be friends, we allow a certain number of these things just float around. But you shouldn't do this. You should have some kind of team leader, maybe chairman in the room, say, "Enough. Stop talking about these things and back to work. I don't want to hear it. Just stop, Oof, go away, do whatever is supposed to be done there. But you have to put up the rules before. If you don't deliver, what can we tell you? Is it okay to give each other feedback? What kind of feedback? Is it okay to criticize, or is somebody's feelings going to get really hurt by that? Or is it okay to say, you promised this, you did something completely different, or you are ahead of people? Wow, could you take some extra load here because we are a bit behind, you congrats to you, but could you help us out? How should the rules be in the team? Because you will get in each other's way one day or the other. That's gonna happen. There's going to be friction between people. I haven't been in any team in my life where there's been no friction at all, and maybe even conflicts. And then again, conflicts is not necessarily a bad thing. Somebody getting angry or yelling, that is not necessarily bad news. It could be useful because then you sort of clean the air, if you know what I mean, and just sort of
absolutely
blow it out, and then you can sort of restart the whole process. And sometimes we have to do that, and then you can look at each other sort of more and say, that was that. Let's see, how can we do this better next time? That would be my advice, actually.
Interesting. Because there's definitely a healthy side of being assertive and being clear with our needs. It's very interesting. And do you think, one of the things that we talk about is active listening and authentic communication and really being present when the other person is speaking. Do you think, is there a risk of we're in the back of our mind analyzing the person? Is there a balance to be struck there? Or it's just a great idea overall to plan ahead for what might come up?
Well, it depends on the situation, obviously. I mean, active listening, what is that? I've taken those classes as well 30 years ago, and somebody said, well, active listening is nodding, meet somebody, look them in the eyes, and look like you're listening. It took me 20 years to find out, how about you just listen, instead of pretending, take notes. Fine, do that. There's a lot of, it's called of social rules, how you should behave around each other. I mean, again, if you talk to 5 people in your team and they all are yellow, their thoughts will drift, and new ideas will pop up, and it's okay to say, hey, I see that you are thinking about something completely different. Is that correct? Yeah, I actually did. Okay, would you like to share it with us? Maybe you can sort of get it out of your system. Or could you please focus on the subject, Sometimes it's me who are sort of losing control over what I'm doing. Sometimes I am the let's say the felon here. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We do the wrong things, and we usually don't view ourselves in the mirror as much as we could. The best way to get a really good team is if everybody had really good, let's say, self-awareness. If you all knew in the team that I am yellow, or I am green mostly, or mostly red, I am the dominant type, I will get angry if people are stealing my time, If you know this, you know how to control yourself. If you know that you are this inspirational idea generator on 2 legs, maybe you could sort of just pull yourself back a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to wait with this. I'm going to write it down, but I'm not going to think about it or talk about it. I'm not going to distract the meeting. I'm not going to sort of interrupt and say, hey, I got this brilliant idea. We are talking about, number 9 now. Yeah, but I want to talk about 11. No, that's not the right moment, If we have this understanding about ourselves, we are sort of more, let's say, aware earlier. We let's say we how should I say, we notice when these things pops up, oh, now I'm drifting now. Okay, but back to whatever's on the agenda. And if you have talked about it in the team, as I mentioned before, then you can put up some rules there as well.
That's great advice.
How about, Georgie, how about this meeting? Okay, we're all yellow. Yay, that's the best color. Yay, whoa, go. Let's do the yellow dance here. Okay, so now the problem is, and then you just lay it down on the table. And then you have
Yeah.
a discussion about that. That is actually very fruitful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's healthy, and it's interesting that you should mention self-awareness. I was actually going to mention that to you because at the fashion clinic, and part of what we're talking about is the future of fashion, and about we want to focus a bit on mental wellness, and a big part of our emotional self-care can be knowing ourselves, knowing our behaviors, identifying and communicating our needs. Um, would you see this color system as a tool for self-awareness and therefore even as beneficial for your mental wellness?
That's a complicated question. There's actually some sub questions there, to be honest. But in general, this color system helps you to understand who you are. It gives you self-insight. It gives you self-awareness. It teaches you how to sort of read other people too. And the more you do that, the more skilled you get to understand and to sort of interpret a certain behavior. If you're somebody who is interrupting you every time you meet her, maybe you can sort of focus on her and see that is the red part in her. But then again, she interrupted me, that's rude, right? We shouldn't do that. We have learned that from her, don't interrupt. Then again, I was talking for an extensive amount of time here. Maybe I actually stole all the oxygen in the air. I can understand if she actually interrupts me. Maybe I could think things through before I open the lid in the front. Just let the thoughts wander loud. But also, I think when it comes to mental health, well, the four-color, the disc profile cannot measure mental illness. You can't measure bipolar disorder or PTSD or schizophrenia. That is not that kind of tool. So anybody can take the assessment analysis and get some kind of result. I have a couple of. I don't work with people who are, let's say, mentally unstable. Let's say. But I have worked with people who were depressed. Usually, when you're depressed, it's usually based on non-functioning relationships in you probably closest environment. It could be family, it could be your manager, it could be your sister, it could be people who are really sort of have a high effect on your well-being. Let's call it. And sometimes people are really stressed because they don't fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. I don't fit in. I don't feel like I fit in. Maybe I'm the only green person. Everybody else is yellow and red. Then you won't fit in because they don't wait for you. They just run around, and doing things all the time. And you're sitting there trying to, understand what was this and what was that. And I can't keep up with you. But if you understand there's nothing wrong with you, it's not your fault that you're green or blue or yellow or whatever. Well, people who are listening to this can put in any color there because you can not fit in regardless what color you have. So just exchange green for whatever color you think you are. And this is sort of, it could be maybe not an epiphany maybe, but still it could be some kind of aha moment saying, that is why I never get along with those people. Now I get it. There is nothing wrong with me. I am okay. I am just not like them. And that could be really helpful actually to understand. Maybe you are not depressed, you just feel a bit lonely at the working place, for instance. That could be, I've seen many of these cases. So maybe I would say self-awareness. What we do know by psychological research, we know that self-awareness can also give you a very high and strong, let's say, self-confidence, but also your self-esteem can increase if you know more about who you are. Because if you understand who you are, then you can accept who you are. You can tell yourself, I'm an okay person. There's nothing wrong with me. I can accept my shortcomings, and I can accept, which sounds strange, but some people don't accept their strengths either. They think they are just stupid, you know. Actually, usually green people say, no, I'm just dumb, you know, I don't get it, because they don't like to, you know, put themselves in the center of things, and, you know, they don't want any spotlight. So they criticize themselves too much, which is also a sign of low self-esteem. I did not say green people have low self-esteem, but it looks the same if you don't dig a bit deeper into it. So we have to keep things straight here. The self-esteem can be built upon self-awareness. And when you have higher self-esteem, you will be a more controlled person, you will be more stable, and you will sort of present yourself to the world in a more self-confident way. And that makes you more easily accepted within a team, because people like others with high and strong self-confidence, right? If you meet somebody with a low self-confidence, you get nervous. Does he know what he's doing? If he's very unstable and very insecure, that's bad, because I need professionals here, right? So these things are all connected. But the answer to the question, can we sort of build our mental health, or we can at least make sure we don't fall into the most obvious traps by using this method or any other method. There are several of them, but this is one that I know work. So, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. One of the first days that I was reading your book, I was upstairs and I took it down to the kitchen, and I told all my housemates, I was like, look at this, and everyone analyzed their colors, and it is probably really, and afterwards I wished that I had written down what everyone had said about themselves. It's like, what exactly, because it is really beneficial, and it is an important part. I think there's a saying, isn't there, that we're all the sum of the 3 or 4 people that we spend the most time with. I'm not sure exactly, but we are very affected by the people that we're surrounded by. So yeah, it's very interesting application.
That's why your parents told you shouldn't hang out with these kids. You know, they're bad for you. You know, they knew this. Yeah. I think the saying is you're the average of is it 3, 4, 5, quite a few people at least. But not sorry, yeah. Very few people.
Yeah.
Swinglish, that's called. Of course, it's a bit of a cliche, but still, there is some truth in it also, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you hang out with only negative people, it's like a rotten tomato in the box, you know. The other tomato is going to be real bad. You know, the rotten one isn't going to shape up, you know, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We need to, and also you will be, if you hang out with people who are really positive and creative, you know, and looking for ideas and discussing interesting topics, you will sort of fall into that as well. That is definitely the case. And then how you do it. Sometimes we are surrounded by negativity. That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's important. It's an important. I used to live in New York, and I felt at the time I worked with and met a lot of people who were achieving so much that I was hoping that it was rubbing off on me. It's definitely, you can feel it when you're around positive people. So Thomas, you used to write thrillers, and now you have these 4 books, The Surrounded by Books, and you have an app. What's the future of your work, or what are you interested in terms of the future applications of all this? Are you still writing thrillers?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
However, I don't publish them because my publishers here in Sweden, they are only interested in I'm a workaholic. Sorry. Hi, I'm Thomas. I'm a workaholic. That is so, and I sleep very not so many hours every night. So I'm fine on 4 to 5 hours. So I work a lot, and especially as we started this conversation, just being at home, you know, or not 24/7 maybe, but 27 maybe. So I write thrillers. I am married to my lovely wife, who is an author as well, and she is a thriller author. She writes really, really scary stuff. Actually, she's not published in English yet. Knock on wood. But we have plans, and when it comes to the color system, as you mentioned the app, I released the app which is called Surrounded by Idiots, and that we can mention. This is not going to be a commercial. But you can actually take the, let's say, a simplified version of the analysis is in the app. You get it for free, and you can do it 1,000 times or 10,000. There's no limit at all how many
Fantastic.
times. So that is sort of just, you can do that. And you can also test other people that you meet in the app. I am releasing web courses probably within a week or so based on this. Some basic courses and then some more advanced, and then we're doing some really extra large, super interactive thing, working on this one. And in Finland, they are putting up a theater based on this also as we speak, actually.
Based on Surrounded by Idiots.
Yes, I know. It sounds crazy, right?
What's it going to be like?
I don't know. I can't go to Finland right now because,
Wow.
Yeah. And well, we are planning for some TV shows as well. So, but then again, the subject itself is fascinating. People are fascinated. I usually get the question, why did the book be a hit now? I don't know. I think the interest for other people and relationships and how to communicate in a more efficient way, I think it's always been there.
Yeah.
To read about other people and then maybe laugh a little bit about but there's a lot of plans, and if somebody who's watching this would like to watch a free webinar on February the 17th, I think they can join. They can find a link on my Instagram profile, Thomas Erikson Writer. It's free, costs nothing. This is, again, it's not a commercial. You don't have to pay anything more than 45 minutes of your life. So that could be a possibility. So no, things are happening all the time. I am sort of the yellow part, bored by staying home now, trying to invent new things. So I'm on it.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. I'll share the link of the webinar, so if anyone wants to sign up, it'll be in the details below the podcast as well. So people
I can send it to you. So
perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can send the link to you. So
yeah, no yeah, and I'm definitely gonna pass the app around to my family and see if we can analyze everyone. I think probably one of the reasons that everyone is so interested at the moment is, of course, we're together all the time. So I think we've all had a lot of time to think about our human behavior and our lives in this past year.
True.
Yeah.
A friend of mine used the app for as a sort of a I don't know the English word, but sort of a family game. They guessed each other's profile by filling in the application in the application there, taking the test on each other, and making profiles digitally, and then showing and sharing and comparing. They said the food got cold because it was so fantastically fascinating. I'm gonna write that down thing. I have to take some notes now. I forgot about that actually. But anyways, so
no, it's definitely fascinating, and it's great that you've kind of taken these concepts and you've made them so accessible to everyone, to all of us. So we really appreciate your work, and so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really, really appreciate it, and we'll keep an eye out for all of your future work.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you.